Ready? Okay, we're going to go over beds. This is a semi-electric bed. It's got two motors on it. The motors run the head and the knees for adjustment. And then you have a crank on this end that's going to be for raising the bed up and down. We're going to put it together really quick with half rails and full rails and show you how it should go together. This is the head spring. Foot spring here. This is, you see that notch in here? That notch is on both sides, and there's a pin that it's going to connect to and hook to and pivot on. So let me get around to this side. You can see. So you're just going to line those up, then take them, pull towards you, and pivot, and it'll lock. You've got to connect to this motor. There's that pin. And this pin just goes up through this little slot, little kind of washer type thing with another little cotter pin that goes on the top and slides in. And that's all there is to that. Then on the other side, spin this around. On the other side you have the springs you've got to connect here. You're wanting to check, make sure you've got all the springs connected in between. If you're missing pieces, we have parts for those. And these pins, these little clasps are a little bit different. I don't know if you can see those, but that clip looks a little different. Take your bed now and lay it down. This is going to go, the one with the crank, the one that has the crank on it needs to be at the foot of the bed. Line those up. And then you do the same thing. You want to do that one, Shaq? Yep. Do the same thing there.
Does this have a crank option at the head of the bed?
No, because you're going to connect. This is the dry bar.
That's where the dry bar connects. Okay.
That's going to connect the two ends, so you have one crank to raise the whole bed up and down. Okay, so we're going to, this has different pin settings on here. For this bed, the semi-electric bed, you go to the furthest one, make it the longest it'll go. Then when you connect these, I don't know, Scott, can you get in there? When you're connecting those down here, there's two places to connect here. That can flip down and it can flip up. If this one's in the bottom here, this one's got to be on the other end, has got to be at the top. So it's just got to be opposite of each other. So if one's down, the other's got to be up.
And it doesn't matter which is which?
Doesn't matter which is which.
As long as they're different.
As long as they're different. If you don't do that, then this bed, when it cranks, one side will go up and one side will go down. So, okay. Then when you run this crank now, this bed will raise all the way up about a foot higher. Now, it's depending on which is up and which is down. It depends on if it's counterclockwise or clockwise to raise up or down. Okay. So someone calls you in for a troubleshooting. They're like, I'm just turning this bed and it won't go up. Just have them turn it the other way. Because there's really not a hard, fast rule. This could be up on some beds depending on how it's connected.
Gotcha.
There's also little locks here. There should be a lock on each bed. There should be two locks. This one has got two locks on this one and one lock on that corner. At least the best way is to have one lock here and one lock there, kind of kitty corner from each other. These are really important if you're on a hard surface like facilities, hardwood, linoleum, those kind of things. You'll keep them from sliding out from underneath the patient when they go to sit on them. On carpet, they work really well. They're really, really hard to move if they're on carpet. Then you have your power cord. Push that down through there. Here's your controller. This is the head up and head down. Indicate there, it's supposed to show you that's the head, so this will go up and down, and then the foot will go up and down. Okay?
That little controller is called a pendant,
Pendant.
and it can be replaced separate from all the other parts on this bed.
It is. We'll take this apart real quick.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do that right now. Probably the
Sorry.
most common thing that we have problems with on these is the pendant will get a short in it.
I'm sorry, am I jumping the gun?
No, you're good. So right here this is called the junction box. And this is where all your cords, your power cord comes in. This is your pendant cord comes in here. To disengage that little clip, you have to push with something like a key or a Leatherman, which is always nice. Thanks, Shad.
You're welcome.
Highly recommend a Leatherman on these. There we go. Can I just keep that, Shad, for a minute? Make sure I don't steal it from you. This lifts up a little bit, allows the pendant to come out, and then this is almost like the old phone cord plug-ins. So you pull this one out, put the new one in. I don't know if you can see there's an O-ring right here, which enables, all these are sealed, so if you get them wet, you can, it's not going to damage any electronics. You do the same thing for the motors. So if you had to change out a motor, this is the same. You take this clip out and disengage the wire for the motor, and then you put this. And then you just put this back in.
And is the motor a solid piece, so this whole motor unit is attached to the...
Yeah, this
That
whole
far?
thing is motor. So to take the motors off, if you had to switch a motor, there's this little pin that you push, spring-loaded little pin
Okay.
with those two things in there, and then this whole motor comes off.
And if
You
we
need
have
to
to
replace.
replace that, do we take the whole bar with us?
You'll take this piece here.
Okay.
There's two motors on this as well. One's a push and one's a pull. So you've got to make sure you get the right motors if you're changing them out.
Chances are we won't change them in the home.
Yeah.
Okay.
We bring them back, put them in the repair area, and we change out the bed.
That's going to be more in-house type
Okay.
repair.
Just making sure.
But just make sure you've got the right push or pull motor on there. Now, in the field, if you're with somebody, you could pull one of these motors off the other bed you're carrying and put this bed on so you're not disrupting the patient. So we're not having to tear them out of the bed and then put a new bed in and then switch it.
But you still have to have them out of the bed in order to switch that.
No, you can have this bed sitting there and just come underneath it and work like you're working under a car.
Okay.
And just drop the motor off.
It won't hurt the patient as long as they're laying flat.
Yeah, put the bed flat and raise it up as high as you can so you can get underneath it.
Okay.
And then you just switch the motor out.
Okay.
Steal the one off your bed, your
Truck.
bed off of your truck, and then put that on there and away you go. So you just pull that motor off, take the power cord out, put the new one in, and slap it back on here. This motor comes off right here, this little pin will enable this motor and the shaft just to come right out.
Okay.
So you just put the new one right back in.
Gotcha.
Same procedure for the other side. Motors are fairly expensive, and rarely do they ever go down.
Okay.
So the junction boxes are even more expensive, and they rarely will go down as well. But the most common thing will be this pendant.
Okay.
Good question. All right, well, we've got this bed on its side. Let's do an extended bed. Flip this over. Sometimes you get a really tall patient and you're gonna be asked to put in a tall bed for someone. There's several things you've got to adjust here. Thanks, Shad. Basically what you're doing is we're putting, basically you're putting a 4-inch spacer in this bed. So we're going to pull this bed apart. This is the spacer that we're going to use. It just gives 4 inches to the bed. The way this attaches is very similar to this. It's got the same connection right there. So you're going to put that on that pin, rotate it in, and that locks it into place. Then you want to bolt. You've got a small bolt that goes through the top here and attaches that, and it keeps that from being able to come loose. So then you do the same thing on the other side. Now we've extended the frame of the bed with this. Because we've done that, we have to extend everything else. So there's this extension for springs. And these will get tangled up. They're kind of a mess sometimes. But maybe. There we go. So these now, these hooks, the hooks need to be going down. If you put them so they're going up, they're going to snag your mattress and put a hole in it. So put these hooks into these holes. Like so. And that one is just...
I want to fight there.
No, it doesn't. So, okay. Now, see how this one's got hooks this way? We need it to connect to this because this pin, these hooks are going to come in. So we've got this on upside down. So we're going to switch that. I think we're missing some pins here.
It looked like it was a little short.
We're missing
The
this.
big springs at this end.
That makes a little more sense. Okay. And then those other two. Same thing with these springs. You want that spring facing down. Now you've got these little hooks that connect across like this.
What does that give you? Another 4 inches?
4 inches. A regular bed's 80 inches. This makes it 84, so this is going to be somebody that's like 6'3" or above, probably. Usually facilities are the ones that will be calling for this, but it can happen with a regular patient in their home. Now we just put this on, swing this out. Now we connect this, just like we did before. Now we have this extended. Now the problem we're going to have here, the problem we're going to have here now is if we don't extend, put a longer one of these bars on, this bed is only going to go about that high. So to get the bed to go up as high as it should, you have to replace this with this bar here. Notice how it's just longer?
When we store these extension kits, do we have the bar, and everything in one thing?
We do in the storage units. Here they haven't been doing that, but that's a good idea because then you've got everything shrink wrapped in one thing because it's really easy to forget because this, you got this piece and you got the extension, you got the springs, but then we also have a different drive bar that's longer as well. So we're going to put this extended piece in. If I hand you the
It's underneath.
block. Thank you, my lovely assistant.
No. Oh, no. Trying to stay off camera.
So this hooks up the same, this bar is just longer. Now we'll put, now this extension, I'm not going to do it, but right now this extension, you can see this is another 3 inches here, right? So that gives us that little more space. Okay? Any questions on that? Nope. Does that make sense?
And the extended bar goes the same. One top, one bottom.
Correct. Yeah, all we've done is we've put this little spacer in the middle.
Make more length.
And everything that goes from here over has to be extended. So this is extended, the springs are extended. This bar is extended here for the motor, And this drive bar is extended. Everything has to be longer. Also, the mattress. We have to have a tall mattress. And those are located in a special place. We have those separate. When you get a new tall mattress in, get a Sharpie and write on it tall. Write big and just write tall on there because it'll be sitting over here in the cleaning area and it doesn't look that much different. And if you're not paying attention, you can just throw it in with the regular bed mattresses and you won't have the right stuff. So, all right, there's a bed with an extension.